All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Elite Junior Profiles podcast. I'm Lane Hauk, and I'm with my partner, Paul Peckman. How you doing, Paul?
Doing great, Lane. Doing great. Good to be back with you, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since we did our last episode. Well, we're excited to have Coach Perry Wilson with us today. And before we get into talking a little bit about him and his background and what he's doing, we've got some great announcements to kick off this episode with. Number one, we've got a new website live. Went live this last week. A little bit of different look here, in a faster platform, a little bit better just underlying structure in our website. We got a new partner slider up, which is nice. We got all our new partner logos coming through here, and a nice featured area for our podcast. If you ever want to link into that, that's a great place to go to. Got some nice graphics here. So just excited about the new website platform. Paul, you want to go through some of our new partnerships that we've got? I'll refresh the page because we've got those up front here. So why don't you talk about some of our new partnerships here, starting with Grizzled.
Well, Grizzled Hockey is a bunch of a couple players from the Philadelphia Revolution. Luke and two of his buddies have partnered up with the EHL and some of their apparel and what they're doing with their podcast. It's more of a hockey platform, so we're excited about them and what they're doing. We also partnered up with the North Carolina Golden Bears, their hockey U18 hockey program. So with Bruce, we're excited to get going with them. The Silver Barks Lacrosse Academy out of Uganda with Kirwane is a guy that I'm very, very excited about. He's passionate about helping these kids. They have a U16 and a U18 program, and they're looking to get their guys on the platform here and get some exposure. And they got some talent over there. And you'll see on the next one, I believe, is the virtual training lacrosse, which is Colin Spear. Is a young kid who is playing lacrosse at Mount Olive here, Division II. NCAA, and I connected those two with Uganda to help them do virtual training. So this is what it's all about. It's about networking. It's about helping each other because at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. That's what we're doing. So we're excited about that.
Well, and we're so we volunteered. There's some underserved kids, especially abroad in different countries like Uganda. And so, at Elite Junior Profiles, what we've done is for those kids who just don't have the ability to even pay $47 for, a profile for the year, we're donating a profile of them just to help give them the opportunity to get more visibility and hopefully realize their dreams of playing their sport, either in college in the USA or anywhere else that they might be looking for. So we're excited about just helping kids too, not just in general, but especially helping kids that just don't have the opportunities that other student athletes do. So we're excited about that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Well, Paul, why don't you introduce our guest? Paul.
Well, I'm really excited about our good friend here, Perry Wilson. Perry has been with us almost since day one, and I'll never forget the call that he gave me. And he said, listen, I don't know, what you're doing, but I'm really excited about the platform that you guys have. And I want to help in any way I can. And that's when I knew we got somebody special on the line. So, Perry, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thank you for this opportunity. I really love what you guys are doing. I think it's just going to continue to grow and not stop growing. It's the outlook is really, really, really bright.
Well, I appreciate that. And first off, I want to say congratulations to you to just being nominated to the Hockey Canada's Goaltending Symposium. That's a big deal, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, Paul. It is a big
Yes.
deal because, hockey's such a big thing in this country of Canada. To be named there's only 20 of us that were allowed to take this course, which is done across the country. And it's virtual this year, but we have to finish it in Calgary at the Hockey Canada offices to be certified by the NCCP, which is the governing body of sport in Canada. So we'll be the first really licensed goalie coaches in the entire country. So I'm really excited.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Perry Player as a kid. Give us a little background of coming up through the ranks, so to speak.
Yeah. So my playing story is really limited. I was born in Nova Scotia. I played a bit when I was there, and then I moved to Ontario, and my parents didn't have a clue of how to get me back into hockey. So I didn't play again until I was old enough to buy my own gear. So there's not much as far as the junior profiles. Would have been great if we had that back then. So then I started playing in my, late teens, early 20s when I could buy my own gear, and realized that a lot of the guys that did play junior, I could kind of hang out with them and compete with them. And, it really made me realize that as a player, I probably could have been okay, but then I realized there was nowhere to go. So I challenged myself with just getting into coaching. So I started coaching in the mid 90s. So the playing background never did get to where I really wanted it to, but I just stoked the fire even more about how can I still fit into this game. So coaching is where it went.
Well, that's something for these kids to hopefully that are listening, that the passion and the drive never goes away, and whatever level that you finish at doesn't mean that it ends. And there's always somebody else that you can serve. And, I think just looking at your resume right here, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I've been blessed. This game has really opened up my life to the possibilities of what can happen if it doesn't go plan A, right? So this was plan B, and I dove into it with everything I've got, just like I would have in plan A had it worked out when I moved to Ontario.
That's great. So what are you doing today? Let's give us an update of besides the new symposium that you're a part of, what else are you doing?
So we finally got on the ice this week. We've been off the ice completely since March 19th. There's only one rink open, and it's a private rink. So they've kind of monopolized it, and they're using it to their advantage. They really, we're only allowed 10 people on the ice. You can't even gather on the ice to talk about drills. You have to talk about it outside. It's really limited what we can do, but just to get the kids back on the ice is great. We're trying to prepare for a season in the OHL, but we don't have anything solid yet. We don't even know if we're going to have a season because our league cannot survive without fans. It's everything to us. So we're in communication all the time, trying to figure things out. I've got 3 ice sessions today with a bunch of goaltenders, but it's hopefully going to build into something better.
Well, let's talk a little bit about now because of the world that we're living in today. How important is it? When you gave me that call and you came on board with us, you saw the vision of what we're doing here and how we can help these kids create a solid resume because of and now it's turning into it's a necessity now more than ever. What do you tell us your feelings on the profiles, especially the disc enhanced profile, which I consider to be very, very special and different, which is exactly what we wanted. Tell us your thoughts and enlighten the kids out there and how important it is.
Absolutely, I have thoughts. I think this is probably the most wonderful thing to happen to these athletes, to be able to tell a coach why you want this athlete in your program. I think it's a great way for the kids to really show who they are rather than just to see the stats, because the stats only tell a small portion of what this athlete's all about. I've seen and met so many athletes with incredible heart, but because the numbers aren't there, because of the style of whatever team they played on, their numbers aren't, they don't reflect the player. Like you can't judge the heart of a player by stats. So, when you think about it, like Martin St. Louis wasn't even drafted in the NHL, but turned out to be a terrific player. Had there been a platform like this, his road would have been much easier. So to all the athletes out there, get on these disc programs and really create and think about who you are. Add the the video profile, anything that you can think of. The disc enhanced profile will help you get to. So it's like it's like a resume for an athlete that is way beyond the stats. So I just think it's terrific. I think it's an opportunity for these kids to really shine.
Well, I mean, obviously I agree, but for the situation, especially now, recruiting is critical, and now they need to get in front of as many players as they can, on a player's perspective here, you have to be proactive. You have to do something that's going to separate yourself from the masses, because there are still limited spots. There are the same spots that are available every year. But now the question is, you don't get to showcase that maybe as much as you normally would have to. So, what's the difference? Well, obviously we feel this is the difference that can help. And I hope the players and the parents that are listening and watching this really see the strengths of this profile, because when we put it together, we wanted to create a one-stop shop. And when you have stuff like the Disc Enhanced profile, and you have scouting reports downloaded in the profile for coaches, you have personality reports, you have transcripts, you have everything right there so that they can make a very good decision. Is this somebody we want to give a call to, or we want to go see, or how do we connect with this kid? This is somebody that we want to pursue. And that's the first step. And when you get on a coach's radar like that, I think it's, that's half the battle, is coaches being aware. So I think that's where we're at with that. And it's becoming, we're gaining a lot more traction now. People are starting to see the value. The responses we're getting from coaches are tremendous. So it's definitely serving its purpose.
Win-win for sure.
So with the players that come into the OHL and then move out of the OHL, what's a typical path look like for an OHL player? Where are they coming from? What leagues? What do you see as important, to being successful in the OHL? And where's a typical player who is successful in the OHL? What's their next step typically? Or, what are some of those options that open up to them?
Well, that's the one thing about the OHL, and I think it's just because of the history. I got to say first that the NCAA is becoming a real pathway to the NHL, where it was, a combined CHL, where you've got the Ontario Hockey League, the Quebec Major Junior League, and the Western Hockey League together. Those leagues are, I would say, still the feeder leagues for the NHL. They're the ones that the scouts will, gravitate to first. So it is a real pathway to the NHL. But what happens, and what I've seen since I've been there, you've got to be like a top 4 player to really get those extra looks. I think there's so much opportunity in hockey now outside of the NHL, like to play in the AHL or to play in Europe. Now you can have a real nice career, and you're not going to get NHL money, but you'll make a really, really good living and see a good part of the world. So, for a lot of these kids that kind of fall through the cracks of the Canadian Hockey League, I think, with a disc enhanced profile, you could take your game and still keep playing far after junior hockey.
Awesome. Where do a lot of the OHL players come from? I mean, what are they mostly coming from? Canadian junior leagues, the tier 3 leagues, and then moving in? Or are they coming from the AAA?
Yeah, mostly the AAA. But what's happening now, we're getting a lot more U.S. players. I know, like our last captain was a U.S. player. He's born in Michigan. He came up through the Michigan ranks. I think he played Bell Tire, if I'm not mistaken. But we're getting a lot of players now that are American-born, because I just see the rise in USA hockey. So there's going to be a time where there's just not enough room for these players to play in the OHL, CHL, different teams. So being able to put yourself ahead of everyone else in the U.S. is really going to help you.
Mm.
Do you think that at any time, maybe in the future, near or far away, that the OHL will allow those players to go to school? in the NCAA ranks?
I'm going to say probably not, because the OHL, the CHL total, their league is 16 to 20. So most of these kids would already be, well into their hockey career before they even get to university. So I don't know if it would be feasible, first because you'd have that border crossing all the time if you played in the Ontario Hockey League. I mean, there's 2 American teams, but you've got Saginaw and Erie that are in the U.S. But how do you go to, school at the university over there and then come over here to play hockey? I mean, that would be quite a challenge, I would think.
Well,
Are you talking about after they're done in the OHL?
No, during their OHL time, because
no,
their years would be in college, correct?
the average age of a freshman in college is 21.
Okay, so
they're going after juniors to go play NCAA.
yeah, so I would say most of the players in the CHL, very well, most of them will try to pursue that NHL dream first.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that doesn't work out, they do have a school package. And then a lot of them, what has happened is a lot of them will go to university in Canada because they can get more out of that money that they get for their school package. I haven't.
Well,
go ahead.
Once you play in the OHL, you lose your eligibility here in the with the NCAA. So yeah,
that's correct.
So that would have to change. That rule would have to change in terms of right.
And I think now that the USA Hockey has become so good, that rule may be up for debate soon.
That's why I was asking this, because we're starting to creep up, and now we're starting to be parallel to
I would
Canada.
say much more than parallel. I think, like, look at the last few World Championships. Even start with the UA teams. The US is kind of dominated for a little bit there, and even the World Juniors, they're right there every year, and that wasn't the case 10 years ago. So
right.
I just see the growth in U.S. hockey. Well, it starts with the coaches, and the coaches are fantastic there now. So I remember, there was so much opportunity to go to the U.S. to coach, and now they don't need us. They don't want us because, they're doing fine on their own. So I'm thrilled that the U.S. has gone so far, and I would say it's equal, if not now taking over. So it's fun to watch.
Yes, sir. Tell us a little bit about your history with the New Zealand national team and how that came about, and even to start working with them.
Yeah, that again is another. It's a story of perseverance, I would say. I was coaching at the University of Windsor, the women's team, and they had their first ever goalie coaches clinic in Calgary, which is the home of Hockey Canada. And I went out there, and it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And what I chose to do was to talk to anyone that would listen to me and ask, how can I be a part of this? Because I've never seen anything like it. And it was just so well organized. It was the home of hockey in Canada. So to be able to be a part of that, and I bugged everyone. And by the next year, I had my first team. So I coached the under-22s in Germany, and we won. And then I did 6 other events, including 2 world championships with U18s and the senior women's team. So with the senior women's team, it was the last world championship Canada has won. That was in 2012 in Burlington, Vermont. And wow. Then now that I'm in the OHL, I moved over to the men's side, which is, highly competitive because you've got so many more coaches that want in, right? Because it's such a, it's a real boost to their program and to the coach themselves. So to get in with Hockey Canada at any level is a big deal. So I did that, and that's how the New Zealand thing spurred out. So they were looking for goaltending development, and they had asked at a world championship for some help. And I went down there the first year, 2015, and it was just amazing the passion those kids have for hockey.
In New Zealand?
Yeah. First I heard it was like New Zealand and they have hockey down there, and it was like they do, but their seasons are different. Like they're in the middle of their winter right now. So just because of COVID, they're kind of slow getting started, but they would be in the middle of their pro. They have a pro league that has 16 games, but they love it. Their passion is no different than anywhere else. It's just the development's not there.
Awesome.
It's great.
It's awesome. As a matter of fact, I was just messaging a guy yesterday who's the head coach of the Jamaican national men's team. So it's just so surprising, but yet not, because the sport has grown globally, right? So now it's, how do we connect with these people, right? How do we help these kids? I mean, I'm sure they have the same passion to get to, North America, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where all the exposure is.
Yeah, and that's a discussion that I've had at everywhere I've been. So I've been fortunate enough. I've been to Iceland, China, South Africa, Taiwan, Australia, of course, and I'm telling, I really believe there are players in every one of those countries that could play in North America, right? I've had a couple kids come over and actually they're starting to play in North American leagues, and they love it. The problem is they don't know where to go. So with junior elite profiles, they could get a blast out, and who knows who sees them and sees the raw talent, because the talent is raw, but there is talent there. They are what they are typically are. They play roller hockey is a very big thing there because they don't have a lot of ice rinks. So the skill with their hands is really incredible. It's something else to see. But you put them on the ice, they just can't skate as well. But if they take the time and get the skating piece in there, they can compete, and they have heart. They have drive. Just hockey's not their number one sport.
Right. To me, it's always been amazing to connect, and I talk to a lot of different coaches in a lot of different sports all day, and there's so much passion, and a lot of them don't have any outlet. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go and how to get help. So the conversations that I have is just, it's amazing and it's heartbreaking at the same time.
Right.
And what can we do to help? And that's why when you see a program like Uganda, or you see the Harmony Baseball from Cameroon on our partnerships, it's because of these kind of conversations, and basically, what can I do? How can I help? What do you need? And that's what it is, because like I said before, at the end of the day, this is all about the kids. And if we can help the kids and the coaches make that connection, and it's exposure, get them in front of coaches that they would never get to see, and coaches would never get to see these guys. And you know what? There may be a kid in that program that may have a shot. Maybe not, maybe so. But that's what this is all about, is giving them the opportunity. And that's what I love about what we do right here. And that's why I'm passionate about it. Because I know, there's so many kids here. I mean, obviously we're hockey heavy. So there's so many hockey players, right? But just think about all the other sports, all the other opportunities out there. It's the same in different sports, right? These kids are still striving to get to that, whether it's the NCAA level or the pro ranks or whatever. These kids need help. That's what we're doing. So that's why I'm excited about it, and I love talking to coaches in these different programs, because it's amazing to see their passion and what they do and how they have to go through what they have to go through just to get these kids, get them any kind of exposure. So that's what gets me riled up every morning.
So, Coach Perry, what I'm sure you don't seem like the kind of guy that just wanders through life and doesn't have goals. What are your goals for the next season or two, or for your future? What are you looking to do?
Well, there's always looking to move up for sure. I've got only a few years left of coaching, I would say. as far as, to be high level coaching. I would love to take the next step to the AHL or perhaps even
Awesome.
mentor in the NHL. But I really want to keep growing the coaches that are in my area, because I just find so many coaches now are more about teaching what they played rather than what they learned, if that makes sense. I think that's where we're starting to fail our athletes a little bit. When you hear the first line of a coach is, when I played, this is what I did. It's like, well, what you did is obsolete. So let's learn and grow together to make sure these athletes that are, 10 steps ahead of where we ever were. I mean, you look at old film of, 1980s hockey, these kids would chuckle at the skill level. But these kids now, they have so much more skill. And it's our job as coaches to be able to tap into that skill and really make it blossom. So, I really am working with a lot of NHL coaches on how to get, better coaching globally to make these kids really shine and give them the best opportunity to grow. So it's more of stepping back from the ice and just, playing a different role. So I'm excited about that. And I think something like junior league profiles would absolutely help these kids that, they might be a little undersized, things like that. But the way the game's changing, it doesn't matter anymore. What matters more is what are you bringing to the game? And this will help for sure.
When you're working with a goalie, or excuse me, when you're looking at a prospect, what are you evaluating? What are you looking for? What do you think that this kid is going to make him special, or that just a little tweak here and there, and this kid could be the next real deal?
Yeah, so one of the things I look at that really shines for these kids, and it sounds really simple, it's what are they really looking at? Like for a goaltender, it seems, they can be really good size, be pretty athletic, but it really comes down to, are they really seeing the puck well? And it's something you have to be trained to see. And we can see a lot of goalies that, have a lot of skill, but they really aren't looking at the puck. And a lot of pucks go by them and everyone goes, how'd that go in? And to me, it's really that small. They weren't really looking at it. So getting them to understand what that is and training that is all part of what goaltending is becoming now. It's really different. And I think it works for every athlete.
Coach Perry, one of the things you said just a minute ago was, about stepping away from the ice or the field and really, looking at how you coach. And I love that you're trying to help other coaches, because I think that you're right. It's, being an excellent coach, it's not like you just go, even if you're an excellent player. I mean, we say this all the time, just because you played in the NHL doesn't mean you're going to be a great youth coach, right? Or a great coach of anyone. You have to learn that skill. And that's one of the things that we're really passionate about. And as we dug into this, it's, coaching the whole person, and that you see the great coaches. And we've got, when you were talking, what made me think about was one of the quotes we had in this PDF program we had. And it was from, a couple of these guys, Coach K and Coach Holtz. But, Coach K said a common mistake among those who work in sport is spending a disproportional amount of time on X's and O's as compared to time spent learning about people. And, and then, Coach Holtz saying, I'd say handling people is the most important thing you can do as a coach. You can be excellent at the X's and O's of your sport. You can be the expert at all the tactical things in the sport. But if you don't know how to coach people, you don't know how to connect with a human being and the different types of human beings that we have on our teams. That's, one of the biggest things I learned in leadership was that you have anywhere from 4 to 6 different personality types in any given group of 10 or 20 people. And if you can't connect with each one of those types of people in their personality and their character, then you're never going to be able to really lead that whole group. You may only really be leading 2 or 3 people, not the whole group, because you failed to connect with a proportion of those people. And as a coach, you've got 15, 20, 30, 40 people on your team. You have to learn about people. And so I definitely hear you're thinking deeper with coaches than just the X's and O's, which is what made me think about this. Hats off to you about that.
Thank you, Lane. I think I've been fortunate enough to be around some excellent coaches. And people will kind of smirk when I say this, but Mel Davidson, who was the general manager and head scout of the women's program for 25 years, she just retired, and they're really going to miss her leadership, because she probably had 400 or 500 people that she's worked with over the years. And every time you see her, she knew your name. She said your name. She would never forget a face. Like, she connected with everyone that she ever worked with. And I think I picked up a little bit of that skill, a very little bit, but I'll take what I can get on how to manage, like you said, manage people and really get to tap into who they are. One example I'll give you of that is Michael DiPietro is just starting his pro career, and he can work with anyone he wants. He's a very highly touted prospect for the NHL. And he still chooses to come back and work with me, which is an honor, because he has so much opportunity to work with better coaches and to come back here every summer. So that is just a relationship built.
Yeah.
Solid. Right.
Well, and that's what really gets the best performance out of people, is the relationship. I mean, if you're going to really motivate people as a coach, and your job is to get the best you can out of them with everything that they have as a person and their talent and their skills, you have to connect with them. I mean, I think we've all had a coach where we just didn't like them, and we weren't motivated. We didn't want to go to practice. We didn't want to show up. It just was really kind of it sucked the air out of them. And then you have those coaches that you knew they were in your corner. You knew that they were all in for you and your success. And when you feel like you've got somebody who's connected with you, cares about you, and will run through a brick wall for you, man, that motivates you every time you're on the ice, every time you're off the ice, wherever you're around them. Right. So this what's on our screen here, the people side matters. It's the defining factor. It really is, I think, the secret weapon for the coaches that really experience that. They're perennial winners in their sport. Their teams are always competing for the championships. But if you look deeper, it's not just because they had to do something to build the clout, where players would want to come and play for them. But what did they do in those first years that even got them to that type of level? It's that they connected with their players and cared about them and got the most out of them.
You have to build that culture, right?
Yeah.
You talk about culture all the time, and to me, I'm a firm believer in strength comes in numbers. And when you're the leader, you got to show the kids that you care, you love them, and you will go through the wall just as much for them as they will for you. And when they feel that reciprocation, hey, we're all in. And when you get them to buy in, and the communication part of it is key. And there's so many different personalities on your team, right? So you got to find that mix. And when you do it, it's just talking, finding, the likes and dislikes. And that's when you go back to the disc report. What motivates this kid? How do you communicate with this kid to get the most out of him? Now you got something here.
Right.
That's it. That's the name of the game as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree completely. And the one word that we haven't used yet that I think it all starts from is trust. When a player really trusts that coach, well, like you said, they'll go through the wall for you. And that's exactly what you're looking for. But it takes time to build that trust. And once you have it, it's really easy to lose. Like for coaching, like you said earlier, Lane, you can really tear a kid down, but it's easily. But they're really, really hard to build up, right? So the trust thing has to be the top list of every coach to build that trust of a player or players.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been an awesome session. Any parting words of advice for players that might listen to this podcast episode, Coach Perry, or parents that might listen to this, or other coaches that might listen to this episode?
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to just tell quickly the Michael DiPietro story. His entire career, he was told he was too small, would never go anywhere, that kind of thing. And I just want to say to the athletes and the parents first find those coaches that you can trust and that believe in your child, your athlete, and understand that this kid is barely 6 foot, and he's now in Vancouver. They're going to play with the Vancouver Canucks of the NHL, and his entire career he was told he was too small. So this is just an amazing kid from a very small town of Amherstburg, Ontario. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter. They can't judge your heart. And he's only just believed in everything that we've ever talked about of how he's going to make it. So to the athletes, don't let anyone determine your future. And to the parents, let them play. Be a fan. His dad is the best. He's never approached a coach in his entire life except to say hello. Never about his son. So let the kids play. Let them determine their future. And the future is very bright for millions of athletes. So it's pretty exciting to watch this kid go.
And the lesson you're passing on is this kid just believed and has a big heart and has a work ethic to get to it. There's nothing. He's not doubting his future.
Not at all. Not at all. He's a good athlete. I wouldn't say he's great, but he's a very good athlete. His heart is just bigger, as big as the Lion's heart. There's no one that's ever going to outwork him at what he does. And that's all he's ever done. And it's been consistent from day one. So the kids that want it, go after it like it's everything to you. And that's what he's done. And you never know where that will take you.
And it'll take once hockey's over for him, because that day will come, when he's done playing hockey, everything he's learned and all the character he's built, going through this process is going to serve him well in the next chapter of his life too.
Absolutely will. And that's the other thing. I find that kids that play junior sports, any sport, the connections they make absolutely help them in life. I've met so many kids that play junior in many sports that are doctors, lawyers, big jobs, because of the connections they've met, and they're organized. They get it. They understand, disciplined, driven, all those things it takes to be successful. So it takes them from one part of life to the next. So it's great.
Absolutely. Perry, listen, we want to say thank you. We appreciate your time today. Congratulations in all your success. And I will tell you this, buddy, we're very honored to have you on board with Profiles. It's a blessing for us, and we're looking for many more years down the road. And congratulations and continued success, my friend.
Yeah, congratulations on your success with DiPietro.
And he's not related to the DiPietro that had the big NHL career or big money, but not the big career. This kid's going to go far. That's
awesome. Well, congratulations. There's no doubts why he's successful having a coach like you. Every success that we have as human beings there's always usually many people who have somehow helped us, helped us stand on their shoulders to get to the next level. So congratulations on that. And just really appreciate being able to work with a true classy professional like yourself.
Well, thank you, Lane. Like this whole thing, when Paul contacted me the first time and I talked to both of you, it's like I've never met two guys that are more passionate about what they're doing, and they're doing it for others, which is what most people don't get. Like John F. Kennedy said it, ask not what you can do for your country, ask what you can do for your, what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And those words always resonated with me, and I see that in you too. And you guys, the success of Elite Junior Profiles is going to go very, very well. So I'm proud to be a part of that. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. We appreciate it. Well, Thanks for your time today. Enjoy your weekend. We appreciate it. We'll get this podcast episode up here next week, and hope you get more ice time this coming week.